I was tempted. I was tempted. I was tempted. I was tempted. This morning, I have the simple topic. I was tempted. This morning, I have the difficult topic. I was tempted. I was tempted not to take this topic of tempted on. I was tempted. I was tempted. Good morning, everybody. I don't know if this topic is interesting to you or not, but it's certainly interesting and probably a life-changing topic for all of us at some point or some time in our life. And I am going to have fun today. I'm going to enjoy everything about this, but I want you to understand that my job is to build you personally, to build you spiritually, and then to build you fruitfully or profitably, spiritually, personally, or profitably. And we've talked about this in many, many occasions of what is profitability to you, what is profitability to everybody is a little different. And I don't want to be caught up in that money train, right? I don't want to be known as the guy who only preaches about money, because I very seldom preach about money. I very seldom even teach about money. I mean, you can Google about anybody in the planet and they'll teach you something about money. But I don't think there's enough people out there teaching on the principles of fruitfulness or profitability to the soul. And I don't think that we can be profitable in our businesses, in our lives, or in our spiritual walk if we're not putting all those things in harmony. And so what I'm attempting to do on this show is really changed. And I think that not the fact that the personally, spiritually, or profitably has changed, but it's really changed, I think, from my teaching mentality. I got a text message from a friend late last night, and it was a good text message. And I'm not going to get this is going to be an uplifting day today. But I think that it's a serious topic that we all need to be aware of, that we will be tempted. And I think we need to understand the idea of temptation. But I think the text message I got that drove me towards this whole process of what I'm going to study about today in 1 Corinthians 10:13, in temptation. What is temptation, and why is there temptation? How is Christ tempted? And are you beyond being tempted? Is temptation a sin or not a sin? How do we conquer temptation? How do we avoid temptation? Can we avoid? I mean, there's a lot of things that come along with temptation. But the text message I got that kind of drove me to this message today was a good old friend by the name of Dave Martin. If you're listening out there, Dave, he doesn't listen very often, but evidently he listened the other day. And Dave and I grew up in Angola, Indiana together, and he was one of my first friends when I came to Angola, and he truly, honestly, was probably the first wired differently dude I ever really met in my life in 7th grade when I moved to Angola. Now, my dad was the original wired differently dude. There's no question. And he is the guy that's motivated me to be wired differently in so many ways. But David was interesting because he was even more extra than me. He could sing, he could dance, he could make jokes, he was silly, he was funny. Um, Sometimes he was picked on, um, and it never bothered him, never bothered him. He just kept going his own way and telling his crazy stories and doing what he did all through high school. He was an interesting cat. Well, anyways, David excelled in life in some ways and failed in many other ways. And I don't know where he was or with or without God, but I stayed in touch with him. And David, kind of an outcast. I kept a hold of him, and I helped him in some business early on in life and invested in some of his entrepreneurial careers. And he went out and danced and sang on the Carnival cruises and made an album. And he would send me all he's wrote, to this day, I think he's got a library of 200 and some plus songs. And that didn't work out. And so he ended up paying me back. And one of the very few people that have ever paid me back in some of those difficult situations. I give him credit for that. But I would tell you this, he took off and he reinvented himself, and he helped create a company called Beachbodies. He took me out there to California. I visited with him, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll pay you back." I said, "Don't worry, Dave, I know you'll pay me back someday." And so, as you know, as it goes, he really pioneered Beachbodies with Dallas, I think was his name over there. Beachbodies is still a thriving company, but he was the top sales guy and did miraculous things. Took that to the top, and then that failed for him. But then he reinvented himself again, and as he was declining in Beachbodies and probably didn't save as much money, he spent his money that we invested in the entertainment career, writing song and singing and recording artists, and recreate himself in Beachbodies. And he blew that up again, and then he blew that up, and that failed to some degrees, and he left that and had to start over again for the second time. And as he started over again for the second time, that failed, and he started back over the third time because he invested in a little bit of Bitcoin at a random shot. I had a little bit of money, he said, and I put it in Bitcoin. Thank God I did, because the recording didn't work out. Thank God I did, because the Beachbody thing didn't work out. Bitcoin goes crazy, cashes in his Bitcoin, and he decides that he wants to become a healer. He wants to create a new industry called light therapy. And he takes his Bitcoin money and he throws it all at light therapy. And I helped him in the beginning, just like we did all the other stuff, but I haven't been there for the long haul, exactly how maybe he would want me to be. I'm still his friend and I love him. But now Light Lounge is struggling, but he's always on the cusp. His marriage was on the brink, and somehow he saved that. He always finds a way back. So I'm remarkably proud of him, and I'm just praying for him today that Light Lounge will catch on and be the #1 light therapy product in the world. I know you took a big gamble, and I'm with you. But that's not really what I'm talking about this morning, because what I'm talking about is that I got a text message from this man who's been through everything I've been through, maybe even more in some cases. And we've remained friends through even my stubbornness and his stubbornness. And he texted me this morning. And he said, "Todd, I've been watching your shows lately. And it seems to me that you should be a preacher." And so I was thinking about that this morning as a lead up to this temptation, because I had prepared a message yesterday about Hebrews 12:2, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down even then and now at the right hand of God, the right hand of the throne of God. And so yesterday we talked about how Christ was the author and the finisher. We talked about what the difference was with the man that was with me, Stephen Copeland, how he is a man on this earth and he has been hired by me to help me write the book, The Tiger in Us. He is an author and he's been hired to finish, to close the deal, to make things happen for this book. And so I'm super excited about all that. But today's study on all that, as we move forward in the second half of this show, is going to focus on temptation. Because when it comes to writing a book, or when it comes to building a company like Dave did, 3, 2, 1, every time he kept reinventing himself, every time we get into something, every time I start something, every time Dave went on that Carnival cruise, he was tempted by females. He was tempted by greed. Every time he got out of that and he went into Beachbody, he was tempted by probably same temptation, sex and lust and all those things, and greed and all the things that went through that. And it seems like every time, I'm not saying he failed in every one of those occasions because of temptation, but I just want to make sure that you all recognize that as we work through the Jabez prayer, and we're going to talk about that in the second half of this show, as well as the Lord's Prayer, and as we work through these things in our life, we have to understand that it's inherent in Dave's ascension in life and where he's at, pushing the age of 60 with me, my ascension in life where I'm pushing the age of 60 right now, and my father's ascension in life where he's at 81 and dealing with dementia. It's temptation that is always the roadblock of everything that we are putting forth in our life. I mean, temptation has always been there. It's not always just there for us, but it's always been there for even Jesus Christ himself. We are not going to avoid temptation. It's not even biblical that temptation is avoidable. We are called to avoid it. We are called to call on our Maker to help us avoid it. And we're going to talk about that in the second half of this show. How do I avoid temptation? Oh, man, you got to hear this. It's going to be a great show.
Preview.
Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this morning. It is, what is today? Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday, and guess what? You get Friday off, right? You get Friday off. You got the coolest teacher in the planet, man. He's rocking the Wired Differently shirt. I got the kind of the chain that falls into just exactly the cross. If you guys want to support this mindset, mission, ministry, and movement, go to wireddifferently.com. I'm asking you to help support this show. I'm asking you to help support this mindset, mission, movement, and ministry. It's simply by buying a t-shirt or buying a sweatshirt. We got all kinds of flavors. We've got different female cuts. We got men cuts. We've got hoodies. We've got t-shirts. We've got sweatshirts, all kinds of stuff. Then that website's going to keep growing. If we have time, we'll pull that up later at the end of this show. We had a great start of the show, and I really want to touch on temptation today, and I want to close out yesterday a little bit, which leads us into temptation. I opened the show this morning with a story about my good friend David Martin. and I love him desperately. Sometimes our roads don't cross as often as they should, and I'm picking on him this morning because he had sent me a text message last night, and and truthfully, it's on the heels of me not responding to him. I don't get back to him very quick sometimes. And part of it's because I'm busy, and part of it's because my head hurts, and some part of it's because I don't prioritize him as much as I should, and I want to apologize for that. But he texted me again last night, and he said, "Hey, bro, I'd like to talk to you about faith. And I've been listening to your shows, and it seems to me like maybe you're a preacher." I think I've been fighting that my whole life. And I don't know how many of you out there are fighting, I think, the call of God, the saving call of God. I don't know how many of you are fighting it, but I know a lot of you are. Because sometimes it's just not the cool thing to do, but I want to make it cool. Because I'm kind of cool. And I think that I didn't say completely cool, but I'm kind of cool. Some people think I'm cool. Cool in a good way. I mean, I think God needs us to get out there and say, "Hey, man, God help me in my business. Hey, man, I've lifted weights my whole life. I was an athlete my whole life. I am a man of God. I've been married 40 years. Yes, I have been tempted. But God has still served me. Yes, I have failed. Yes, I have fallen. Yes, I have done all the things that God said would probably happen to every one of us. Amen, right? But I'm still here. I'm still coming back and back and back again. And I ask myself, God, what really is wired differently? What is this whole idea? Why do you keep tempting me or allowing me to be tempted with other things? David Martin, I didn't plan on doing the show about him, but it just touched my soul. And I read the email, and he said, "Man, bro, I want to talk to you." And he said something in the email, the text message, I should say, that really bothered me even more than the fact that he asked me if I was going to be a preacher, because I seem like I am one. Well, I don't take particular offense to it, but do I need to take offense to it? Do I want to be one of those stodgy preachers? Come on now, someone. Is that a compliment? Choose to take it as a compliment. But he said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about faith." And then he said something in this text message that just kind of riddled me a little bit. He said, "Not about business." So here's a man who was risen and fallen 3 times in life. Epicsada. I mean, he's like the guy, right? He's a strange dude. He, like in the 7th grade, he was the odd dude. He was odder than me, and I loved him because he was odd. I remember going into the photo room, and we took photography together. We had to develop pictures we had to wash the picture in some kind of wash, and then we had to put in another wash, and then we put it in a developer, and we have to shake it and wait for it to develop, and then we would laugh about it. We'd like, get it out, and we'd put it in the stabilizer, and then we'd hang it up there, and then we were just kids messing around, and we figured it out together. But he was goofy, man. I'm telling you, the guy was straight up wired differently. He was so wired differently that I almost didn't feel wired differently. And I didn't know what the word meant, wired differently, back then, but he was shaping me and forming me. My father had shaped and formed me in the athletic side of being wired differently. This guy was an artsy dude. Band. He could dance. He could sing. And I told the story in the first half where he literally went out and he created his own album and was an recording artist, and I funded him and got him going on that. I was blessed early on in life with success and some money, and I gave him to him, and he went out and ran it to the rails and busted his ass and did it and made it work, and then he didn't. And then he didn't pay me, and then he waited 10 years. He paid me back after 10 years. I mean, who does that, right? I'm just so proud of him, right? And so then he rebuilds himself into Beach Bodies, the #1 salesman, helped build the company Beach Bodies. Come on now, somebody, that's a big deal. Runs that up, and Somehow that crashes and he takes the money, and just at the last desperate moment, he throws it at Bitcoin and that hits jackpot. He takes all that money and turns it in. He says, I want to solve the world of pain. So he invested all into a company called Light Lounge. He's created it. He's created patents. He's created the light. He's created the pods. He's building the pods. He's got diagnostics on the pods. You can set it to the level of what you want to heal. You want to work on cancer. You want to work on bipolarism. You want to work on soreness. You just dial it in. You lay in a bed like a damn tanning bed, and you come out and you feel good. I did it. I went there to Denver in model 1.0. You should see it now, right? But he didn't text me like normal talking about business advice. I've been a little cold in that regard. He texted me and said, hey, bro, I've been watching your shows. I really want to get to you. I really need to talk to you. He didn't say those words, but I could hear it. And don't worry, it's not about business. I want to talk to you about faith. I think you should probably become a preacher. Shortest text message you ever sent me. See if I can read it. David's been tempted his whole life. I've been tempted my whole life. Yesterday we talked about Hebrews 12:2, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Stop. Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Stop. Jesus, the author and finisher. The author of our faith has allowed for temptation to shape us. David has been tempted his whole life. This is the first time he's come to me in faith. Maybe the temptation of so much over so long has created so more. Maybe pain. Don't know. I'll talk to him today. But I want to talk to you about temptation in the final 8 minutes or so that we have of this show. 1 Corinthians 10:13. God shared this with us. He said, no temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. Such as is common to man. Temptation is common to man. All temptation is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. He will not allow you to be tempted. So God has a governor on temptation. He's allowed a temptation, but he will not allow it to be beyond what you are able. But then he follows with that the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. So God is saying, hey man, temptation's coming, bro. And it's common in your business. It's common in your personal life. And it's more so than common even in your spiritual life. But it won't be more than, God is saying, I'm going to put it out there, but it will be not more than you can handle. So have faith in that, right? Because I am the author and the finisher of our faith. If he's the author and finisher of our faith, Hebrews 12:2 says us, then he would not put something before us that we could not handle, or allow something to be before us that we could not handle. No temptation will have overtaken us. You accept such as common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation will also make the way of escape. So he's going to allow temptation to be in your life. He's going to allow that trial in your life, but it will not be more than you can handle. And the piece I want to make sure you understand is that he will make the way of escape. So there's always going to be a way of temptation to be maneuvered. Dave has been a master of maneuvering. Masterful. I think he knows the Lord. I think I'm going to have that conversation with him probably today. Dave, I'm going to ask you if you know Jesus Christ. I'm going to ask you if he's in your heart and your soul and that you believe he died on the cross and rose again. I love you that much. Let's talk about Jesus for a moment. Let's talk about Matthew 4, 1 through 11. I'm going to read this to you because we are not the only ones that were tempted. Then Jesus was led up to the Spirit in the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. So after Jesus was baptized, God led him to the wilderness to be tempted. Literally, this was, so if you think that you're the only one being tempted by pornography, you're the only one being tempted by greed, you're the only one being tempted by lust, you're the only one being tempted by the donuts that I put on the screen, you're the only one being tempted by anything. I want you to understand you are not alone. God put Christ in front of temptation first. And I'm going to give you the definition of temptation. Temptation is the trial that man has of free choice of being faithful to God or not. So when we talk about temptation, I want you to understand we're talking about your free will, your choice of choosing God or not in a situation. A trial in which a man has free choice of being faithful or unfaithful to God. So it's the biblical definition of temptation is you're put in a position to either choose God or not choose God. To be able to choose God or not choose God. So God sends Jesus to the wilderness. He's tempted by the devil for 40 days. And so for 40 days and 40 nights, he fasted in the wilderness alone. After that, he was hungry. Can you imagine, right? Now, when the tempter came to him, Satan, he said, if you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. Like Satan's tempting him. You know you're hungry, bro. Come on, eat some food. And if you're really Jesus Christ, you're really the Son of God, and you're really these things, I want you to understand, it's really simple. You could turn water into wine. Why don't you just turn a simple rock into some bread and chow down, bro? Just do it. Prove yourself to me, Satan. I'm tempting you. Prove yourself to me. Turn these rocks. Feed yourself. You're skinny. You look like crap. Come on, Jesus. Just feed yourself. Just do it. Just turn it into bread. Eat it. Eat it. Eat that donut, bro. I bet Jesus looked at that bread possibility as if it was a glazed donut. I'm sure it looked even better than that glazed donut, right? But Jesus said, it is written, man, shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. So Jesus swats down that temptation. Then the devil took him up to the holy city and set him at the pinnacle of the temple. And he said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you, and in their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And Jesus said to him then, come on, man. What are you trying to do? I know you're going to tempt me 3 times. I'm not going to turn the rock into bread. I'm not going to eat a glazed donut right now. I've been eating food and water for 40 days. I am not going to yield. I'm not going to choose you over God. And I'm surely not going to throw myself on a city. Jesus says, it is written again, you shall not tempt the Lord our God. Again, the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain. And he showed him all the kingdoms of the world, the glory, and he said to him, all these things I will give to you if you will fall down and worship me. Then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Then the devil fled, And behold, angels came and ministered to Jesus. Now, I don't think it's any consequence to the message that I had as many as 20 people on before I started to read that passage, and now I'm down to 7 momentarily. But that's a message. Temptation is real. God has given us temptation. And I think that one of the things I want you to understand in that whole parable message, that lesson that Christ gave us on the 3 temptations of Christ, that I want you to take today, because yesterday I gave you some homework about, man, if God called you to witness to somebody, don't defer. But the thing that gets me the most, and I think God helps me see things a little differently, and I want everyone to catch this. In every temptation, it talks about Satan taking Christ. First, he was in the wilderness. Now when the tempter came to him, Satan took him to a place of a stone. Christ went to the stone. He was tempted. I mean, I get it. There's the 3 temptations: the stone, the city, and the kingdom. 3 different temptations, and Jesus refused all 3 because he chose Lord over those temptations. But here's the thing that I want you to pay attention to, right? Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith, but we also have to understand that Jesus showed us the path through temptation, and the path through temptation is the fact that temptation will occur. And in every case here, Christ was led by Satan to a position. You see, and if Christ was sinless, then temptation must not be a sin. Christ was tempted. Christ followed Satan to a rock. Then he followed him to the pinnacle of a city. Then finally the devil took him up into the holy city at the pinnacle of the city. And then he took him to, then Jesus set him as night. And again, the devil took him up to an exceedingly high mountain, took him to a rock, took him to a pinnacle, and took him to an exceedingly high mountain. I mean, Christ was actually, in so many words, following Satan. You are not above temptation. Jabez's prayer, 1 Chronicles 4:10 says, "Bless me, Lord." Brave prayer. Then it says, "Enlarge my territory, Lord, God of Israel, enlarge my territory." And then it says, while you're doing all this for me, Lord, and giving me these blessings and pushing me through these temptations, be with me, O Lord. And then finally, the prayer of Jabez says, keep me from temptation, keep me from evil. I mean, this is a big deal. And then Matthew 6:9 says, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Lead us not in temptation of evil." Lead us not into temptation of evil. Right? For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever. Both monster prayers. Jabez is in the Old Testament and Lord's Prayer is in the New Testament. Both giving us exceedingly and abundantly warnings of avoiding evil, avoiding temptation. And how do we avoid it? I'm going to give you this simple and I'm going to close. I believe that the fact that we need to pray for wisdom every day is the full stop gap to avoiding temptation, to avoiding evil, not putting ourselves in the position of temptation. If we're praying for wisdom like Solomon, we will gain from it. If we're praying to keep us away in wisdom, like Jabez, we will gain from it. If we will pray for lead us not into temptation, we will gain for that is wisdom. I appreciate everything this morning. I know it was a little heavy, but you can blame Dave for that. You can blame Dave for that because he put me right here where I need to be today. Maybe I am a preacher. Anyways, get to wiredifferently.com. Check out your sweatshirt. Check out your t-shirt. Check out your hoodie. We got them there. Women's sizes, men's sizes, all kinds of stuff. I mean, this is a beautiful shirt. I'm going to be rocking every one I can rock for you guys. Have a great day. Check this out. First Corinthians 10:13. Lead us not into temptation. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate everything you're doing. God bless you.